Tell me everything. What do you think about Meg Ryan having a fake orgasm at Kat's Deli because of the pastrami? Hello and happy holidays to all of my podcast network listeners. Hello to Sex and the Solo Girl listeners, and hello to Breakups, Broken Hearts, and Moving On community. What is your favorite rom-com? A lot of people would say it's When Harry Met Sally, right? Well, I've got a special holiday treat for you this week. I am going to be getting tipsy with my friend Brian and roasting the hell out of this famous rom-com. I hope that you will enjoy it. We actually ended up talking about the movie for so long that I am breaking it up into two parts. The first part will find us easing into the night with just a cocktail or two. And the second part will find us talking about second part of the movie with Janice being super drunk and silly and a little obnoxious. So I hope that you will enjoy it. And if there is a rom-com that you would like to hear me roast on the show, please get in touch and let me know. Welcome to Sex and the Solo Girl. I'm so excited. When I first started podcasting, I always had this idea of drinking while I record and talking about movies. So this is another a happy hour episode. Tonight, yes, we are going to be talking about, I guess, the most famous rom-com of all time. What do you think, Brian? When Harry Met Sally. And welcome back, Brian.
Yeah, thanks again for inviting me. It was all fun last time when we did the Friends with Benefits movie. Yes. So happy to be here again.
Brian is a friend of mine from the neighborhood. I know that people know that I meet people out in the wild, and Brian is one of these friends. What did you think just overall about the movie? And then we're going to fucking get into it.
Well, overall, usually we start with the rating, I guess.
Yes.
So I think last time, did I rate Friends with Benefits like 8 out of 10 or something?
You did, and I'm sitting there like, okay.
You rated the opposite, 2 or 3.
I was like a 3.
Yeah. So I guess since the last time was like 8 out of 10 for this movie, if I can rate it 20 out of 10, I probably will do that.
Oh my God, I can't wait to hear why.
Yeah, because the last movie with Friends with Benefits, that's like this hilarious, it's funny, and it like can kind of laugh while eating your popcorn. But then later on, it's like, it's not a movie you really would think of watching again and again. Like maybe 3 years later, you just completely forgot about it. Like you forgot who the actor was even, because it was not something it doesn't stick in your memory. And I think with Harry and Met Sally, it's something it's even more meaningful to watch like 5 years from now. Like, so in your 20s and then in your 30s, watch it again, you have like really different views about it. And you actually have stuff you can take from the movie that it's more than just a comedy, I think. More than just a rom-com. You have stuff you can take in real life in a way, and more to discuss about rather than some hilarious lines.
And I thought that it was interesting what you said about watching it 10 years from now, because the movie spans 10 years of these people's life.
Yeah, it was a long time. It's like over a decade.
Very cool. Yeah. And amazing. So we're going to be talking about When Harry Met Sally tonight. And it's a happy hour episode. And so we're both drinking. It is almost 7:00 here in Denver on a Friday night. I've got the worst sunburn that I've had in years. So I will not be sharing any video footage of this.
Yeah, it's pretty clear on my end. Yeah,
it looks like it's my bra. Anyways, it's Brian, what are you drinking?
Okay, so the name of this drink, which was, I guess, customized by someone from online, is called I'll Have What She's Having. That's the name of the cocktail.
Yay!
I was like, I saw that. I was like, okay, I have to do this one because it makes total sense. So the ingredients, 1 part of vodka, and then 1 part of ginger, orange, cranberry shrub.
Cranberry what?
And then cranberry shrub. They call it a shrub, which at first I didn't know what it means, but it's basically, I think it's just a mixture of cranberry, ginger, orange, and then with some sugar and then some cider vinegar.
And you made it?
Yeah, I made it. It's quite sour. I tried using the proportion they recommended, but I think I could have added more oranges or something. Oh, it's good. I like the I like the color of it. It in
is
a way
a cute
fits.
cocktail.
I think it fits the theme. It's orangey. It kind of fits the theme of the movie because the whole movie is basically either happens in the fall or in the winter. So in the fall, when the leaves change colors, it's like orangey. So I just thought of that. I was like, oh, it kind of worked that way.
I love it. And you're right. I haven't thought about that.
I just realized, there's like every part of the movie, it's always in the fall or in the winter, which is really interesting. I think it's probably, I don't know, it could be that it's just a time where it's cold and you want someone to cuddle with. That could be one. So
maybe, I don't know. I mean, New York is amazing in the fall, but it's also amazing that could be another. In the summer.
What are you having?
So, I'll have what she's having. I am also on a themed drink. I asked on my Facebook group, like, what should I do? Or on my Facebook page, what should I do? A Harry Met Sally drink. A couple people said something about like an orgasm cocktail. And so an orgasmic cocktail typically consists of chocolate liqueur and vodka. And so but I went to the liquor store down the street and they didn't have chocolate liqueur. And so I have Bailey's, vodka, heavy cream, and chocolate chips.
Do you feel potential for orgasm after
it's
drinking
very
that?
Fucking good.
It's pretty good. It looks pretty good. It's like
you can see the chocolate here.
I see it at the bottom. It's almost like those pearl.
They're very tiny.
Like boba milk tea, those types of bobas
right.
in the bottom.
Yes, it is absolutely delicious. It's a simple one, but crowd pleaser, I would assume at least.
Well, I'll have a sip as well.
Cheers. All right.
Cheers.
When Harry Met Sally came out in what year do you think, or do you already know?
It came out around the same time that Seinfeld came out, which is really interesting.
1989, yeah. It's very cute that you know that. And I guess it's starring Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan, who is cute as a button.
Yep.
I mean, she aged well. God, she has the cutest little face in this movie. Were you all taken with her?
That's just her whole, not just her face, but just the way she moves her body and her hair. Brian. I love that style of hair. It's just so charming and charismatic, and it works with her quirky personality in the movie. It's just like, it just works so well. So I love it. I love seeing her whenever she's in the scene.
And I really liked, one thing I can definitely say for this movie is the character development was really good. I really, really love You've Got Mail. And she does have, a lot of the similar mannerisms.
That's one I would love to see. Like the two other ones, Sleepless in Seattle's one. And then You've Got Mail is another, both starring Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks.
Meg Ryan.
I haven't seen those two yet, but I would love to.
Oh, how interesting. So Sleepless in Seattle, I think came out when I was in junior high. The hilarious thing is I was just down at the pub getting ready for this, and I was speaking with one of the bartenders about When Harry Met Sally, Sleepless in Seattle, and, the overlap. The film posters for When Harry Met Sally and Sleepless in Seattle are almost identical. And we were thinking that they must have done that to monopolize on the success of When Harry Met Sally. Because we looked up the poster for Sleepless in Seattle, and it's Tom Hanks and instead of Billy Crystal. Same exact concept with them both on the other sides.
Really? So it's similar to When Harry Met Sally poster?
Yeah, almost exactly.
Oh yeah. Actually, as you now talk about it, it's like Meg Ryan looking up and then Tom Hanks looking down. Yes. And I actually love that poster a lot. Colors. It just works. And it worked for Harry Met Sally as well.
Very different movies, but yes. Meg Ryan was coming up. So let's get into it. So we have Meg Ryan and Billy Crystal, Sally, and Harry. This already, I was confused. So Meg Ryan is going to be giving Billy Crystal a ride to New York because they both graduated from college and they're both moving to New York from Chicago. And Meg Ryan is friends, at least, with the woman who Billy Crystal is dating. Okay, so first of all, she rocks up. She's going to give him a ride. This has obviously been planned in advance. But they act as though Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan have never met each other before. But she's going out with his friend? Or he is going out with her friend?
Yeah, so a mutual friend that neither of the friends have met. And then that person whom, what's her, I guess Amanda in the movie, is like both of Harry and Sally just completely forgot her name years after. It's like
5 years later.
5 years after. It's like they brought the two together, and then the friend just disappeared out of nowhere. They had no idea where she went. Just like,
yeah, they didn't give her any recognition. Their friends are going to give them recognition later on. But okay, so so sad. Okay, so she rocks up, she picks him up, and immediately, there's this tension. I would like to ask, why, if you're going on a road trip, do you have like a face-sized bunch of grapes with you that you just immediately start eating? And so he pulls out grapes. They're having the sexual tension from the very beginning. And not only does he have this big thing of grapes for no reason, they have seeds in them. That is not American.
Seasoned the grapes? I didn't even...
Seeds, yeah. Remember, he spits it out the window.
Yes. And when I saw him spitting the seeds on the windshield, yeah, first there's that reaction you just gave.
I was disgusted. I'm like, oh, gag reflexes.
But also it reminds me of this one story that my dad told me, this anecdote.
Oh.
Basically, it's this: he was riding in this taxi. This is back in the days, and he was in Taiwan at the time. And then this taxi driver, I remember he had no shoes. He was wearing no shoes.
Okay.
And then the smell, like my dad could literally smell his feet from behind the back seat.
God.
And then next to his seat, he placed a cup of water or a cup of something, whatever liquid it was. And then at the time, it was like 20, 30 years ago, betel nut was kind of a big thing there.
Betel nut?
Yeah, oh yeah.
What is betel nut?
Well, because I've never tried it. But basically, you chew it, and you spit it out, and it produces some really strong. Yeah, it's kind of a disgusting smell and taste, but people love it. It's like it's an alternative to cigarettes, but in a way more gross.
Okay, like kind of like chewing tobacco.
I don't think so. It's not quite. I've never actually seen the actual thing.
What do you call it? Nut.
It's called betel nut.
Betel nut.
But basically, just it's something disgusting. And then this taxi driver had it next to him. And then once in a while, he would pick up this cup and just start chewing the betel nut and goggle with it.
Oh my God, I'm going to throw up.
And then, now this is different from Harry. Harry kept the window shield on as he's spitting the grape seeds. Oh. But like for him, the taxi driver, he rolled his window shield down and then spit out his betel nut.
Oh.
And right next to the car, the taxi driver was a black Mercedes, tinted windows.
Okay.
And back in the time, like if you spot like black, especially black Mercedes or BMWs that are tinted, you don't fuck with them, man. It's like
in Taiwan.
Yeah, in Taiwan. It's like you're encountering a group of gangs or whatever. You don't fuck with them. And he was like spitting the betel nuts right onto the windshield repeatedly.
Oh my God.
And then just kept goggling, spitting, and the smell was everywhere in the mix of his feet. So I don't know why, but when Harry spitted the grape seeds, that's what I linked my mind to, which was not pleasant, but it was hilarious.
No, it wasn't pleasant either. Neither of these things are okay.
And he spit it right towards the camera the second time. The camera was right there, and Harry just spit it right toward.
Yeah, as though he doesn't realize the window is not down. It's so gross. Also, why are you buying grapes with seeds in them? I've never seen people eat grapes and spit out seeds.
Yeah, it's been a while. I've done it, but never had I offered a friend of mine with seeds, and then just I've never experienced what Harry has done, and I don't think I would follow his path. That's I'll leave his path alone.
But I guess that they're trying to get us to realize that he's very cocky and outspoken and
spitting seeds out the window, though he did roll it down. And then the next scene is they're at a diner, like randomly. And I thought that was really weird too, because Meg Ryan says it's an 18-hour drive. And so we're going to have 6 shifts of 3 hours each. And then they just show them at this diner. Did they ever stop to sleep or anything?
And did you notice Harry did not, it never drove that whole way.
She's like, do you want to start? He's like, no.
No, he was like the whole drive. Not only, I didn't see him drive a single second. And not only that, he was just like, he was talking so much about his dark side. He was like, oh, I got a dark side.
And she said,
and
oh yeah,
like,
my friend said you did.
Yeah. And then at the time it was like, he was trying to say he reads his book, and then every time he'll flip to the last page, and it's like, that, my friend, is the dark side. And then just like what Sally says, you have a dark side, but that's about it. There's nothing to feel cocky about that. Mm-hmm. I wish that they later on the movie tied that more to why he has a dark side and something. I feel like that's almost randomly placed. It's
You're
like, oh, we need to.
Absolutely right. There were a lot of loose ends in the movie.
Like,
things that didn't get explained.
It feels like it's just something just placed so that, oh, now we see Harry and Sally has a huge contrast. Now Sally gets a reason to dislike him, because that's pretty much what happened in the beginning of the drives. Just I don't think they hate each other, but Sally hated Harry because like he's just being cocky
he spit
and
the seeds on her
spitting
window.
seeds and just like and yeah, just like, I got a dark side and you don't, and stuff like that.
Yes, totally. And but also he said, don't you ever think about death? Mm-hmm. She's like, not really. Oh, and he also asks her, tell me everything about you. And she says, there's nothing to know. And I don't know. It didn't really make much sense. Why then?
All I remember that whole drive is Harry talking about his dark side and talking about how femmes and females can be friends. But at the time, I had no idea why he was going to New York. And he's like, he brings his bag, and then next to it, one backpack and a baseball bat. Like, why are you carrying a baseball bat to New York City?
And she drops him off in the middle of Washington Square Park, which makes no sense. But I have 2 things quickly. So obviously, we need to talk about when he says that men and women can't be friends. But first, I wanted your opinion on this. So they're in the diner awkwardly eating, and Meg Ryan is very high maintenance and does this whole ordering weird thing, which I just think is too boring to even talk about. But then he's looking at her like with his hands, and he goes, you're a very attractive person. And I want to know what you think, because everybody says, and in the movie, she thinks he's coming on to her. Mm-hmm. I didn't think that at all. I'm just feeling that he is making an observation. His body language, the way that he says it, he's seeing how she acts, he's reflecting on it, he's interested in her as a person. But I did not see this at all as some big come on. Did you? I didn't think he was taking a pass at her at all.
I think it's kind of in the gray zone area. Okay. In general, it's supposed to just be a compliment, but the timing probably was just too sensitive. Like literally, Sally was seeing him and his girlfriend at the time making out. That's the first time Sally ever saw Harry. So then, right, like the same night that he's staring at her and saying, like, find you attractive.
Well, he didn't say that, though. He said, you are a very attractive person.
I guess the wording is kind of different.
I know. I mean, you can see that Harry is very heady. And so and she's, they're making her out to be, kind of offbeat and stuff. And so I just kind of took it as he's watching her and hasn't really met someone like her before, and then gives it as an observation, not like a flirty thing. That's what.
Like later on, he after he came out, like he was trying to convince himself he's just giving compliment, not giving a pass. And I think I was convinced later on, like just as he was talking about it, because I realized, okay, he's just a really kind of a cool, easygoing person. Yes, and he says what he wants to say, whatever he feels, he's going to say it. And I started like getting his personality as the film keeps going and looking back and like, okay, maybe he was just giving compliment. That's she probably would do it with any other woman
that's
as
what
well.
I thought.
So,
He thinks she's curious. He's curious about her, and he says that.
yeah.
And I actually think that Sally was way more into him the entire time, and we are definitely going to talk about that. So, okay, and then there is the quintessential theme of the movie. Whether or not men and women can be friends. We'll talk about this a lot as we roast the movie, but do you have anything to say off the bat? I mean, for whatever reason, she says, don't hit on me. I don't like this. And I just want to be friends. And he's like, we can't be friends, even though he does not express any interest in her from my point of view. And then they get into the stupid conversation about whether or not men and women can be friends because men want to fuck everybody. So Brian, as the token white straight dude, how did you feel about this?
Well, I actually had a conversation with a friend of mine because he and his girlfriend also watched it. So we were talking about it. I was like, okay, what do you think? Could men and women be friends? And I think after just chatting about it, our conclusion, at least between we both kind of feel the same way, is I don't think it's not the sex that gets in the way. Oftentimes it could be, but oftentimes it's the attraction. And so I feel like the way we oftentimes make friends with male, in our case, well, whatever gender you're attracted to, in this case, male friends, we are at first drawn to their personalities. Whereas
as a male friend or as a female friend?
So if we're befriending a male friend.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
So I think the first thing
making friends.
Yeah, making friends. So as we both tried recalling, we don't really focus on the appearance that much. The first thing we notice is, oh, do I like this person's the personality of this person, and how do we vibe that way? Whereas with female friends, sometimes the attraction parts kind of matters. Like, and then this is talking about females, right? So if he's like not interested in this person because of his own boundaries and preferences he has set for dating purpose, he might not even consider befriending this person as a friend.
Yeah.
Whereas for male friends, I was asking, okay, what if it's the same, let's say, same ethnic group, but it's a male? Do you see yourself having a chance to be a friend of his? And he's like, yeah, I might focus more on the personality rather than whatever preferences I've set. I think on my end, it's less of that. But at the same time, I do notice, like with male friends, it's mostly because of us befriending them in a personality way, it's sometimes easier to bond in a close, like share whatever we want to feel comfortable sharing. Whereas sometimes if it's a female and we're attracted to them, but at the same time not dating them, it could just unintentionally create kind of a barrier where it's not as easily shareable. Like if we want to share things, or it's like because there's that attraction, there might be nervousness, whatever it is. And then that attraction gets in the way. And then it becomes harder to form a closer friendship as opposed to male friends.
Billy Crystal says that men always want to fuck the women.
Yeah, that says whatever side that is.
And she's like, well, what if you're not attracted to them? And he's like, no, they still want to fuck you.
Well, that's Harry, I guess. He's living in his own world, and I don't know. What do you think? Do you think with the male friends
first of all, it made me angry because as a woman, sometimes you do always feel like everybody's trying to get in your pants, even if you just thought you were friends. And so that did kind of ring true to me a bit. And yeah, just kind of this frustration because, I mean, he was full on like, no, regardless of how hot he thinks you are, he still wants to fuck you. And so that, it's hard to navigate the world as a woman when you actually, that is my lived experience. But also I was a little offended too. I mean, look, it was released in 1989. It's very, very, very straight. It's very heteronormative. I actually sat down and started making a list of my male friends. And I like the first three guys, my best friend is gay, and the first three men who I wrote down were gay men, and I'm like, oh, does this mean that doesn't count? According to the theory of the film. And then I just kind of moved on because they're assuming that everybody who hangs out are straight, and that's, I don't know. That occurred to me
also,
immediately.
I remember a female friend of mine when it was early on when I was meeting her friends. I think many of her friends were also gay, and it felt like it was just very natural hang out with them because you don't have to worry about the sexual or the intimacy
I'm
part.
sure that there's an element to that for sure.
But at the time, though, like it was 89, right? At the film at the time. I feel like, just like you said, a lot of people were straight at the time, or did they?
A lot of people were straight.
The people who were gay weren't as comfortable sharing. That's what I mean. And so at the time, maybe that held more truth to it. Whereas nowadays, because people are more open and all that, befriending is probably a bit easier. I don't know.
This would probably be one area where when Harry met Sally did not age well, because this would just not resonate with so many people right now.
Because nowadays, I feel like most people would disagree. But it's still interesting hearing your experience, just to know that your top 3 male friends are all gay. So I guess some of that still translates even nowadays.
The first 3 men I wrote down, and then the next 2 men I wrote down are married. So I don't know.
Oh, and then Harry has his own thing, the amendment thing in his flight. It was like, oh, there's amendment. If both parties have a significant other already, then whatever he said, then that could work. And then he changed his mind and realized, oh, it can't work actually. So
very, very interesting. And I have to say also, I absolutely love the men in my life. She says whatever. I don't even understand this. Okay, just really quickly. So I don't think coming on to her. She thinks he is. And he says, men and women can't be friends. And so she's like, well, that's a shame. I don't want to date you, but you're the only one I know. And they just bounce on each other. I didn't really get that, because he was not like, I want to go out with you. And if we can't go out, then it's nothing, because I'm never going to want to be friends. I don't know. It was odd the way that they parted ways. Am I wrong?
Yeah. But so in your view, you're saying you found that Sally earlier on actually grew interest in Harry.
And
that's so interesting. Because I was thinking, really, I would love to hear it, because I
don't think that he's into her at all.
Really?
No.
Oh, I guess this is where men and women think differently in this case.
Okay, cool. Well, I mean, I don't know. And then through the entire movie, there's more and more and more indication that she is way more into it than he is. So she randomly, okay, maybe this isn't random. Well, no, it is. She drops him off at Washington Square Park. Okay, I lived in New York. Why is she dropping him off at the park?
Yeah, it was right by the gate.
Also, like, he lives in Greenwich Village and he doesn't have a job. It was just that annoyed me so much that she drops him off in front of Washington Square, like one of the most iconic places. And she's like, oh, is this your stop? Bye. 5 years later, I mean, they really are like boom with this film.
And sometimes the booms aren't even clear. Like suddenly they'll just switch the scenes suddenly, and you just have to assume this another 6 months have passed. You don't know, but you're like, okay,
right.
it must
You're
have
so
switched. It's like, yeah, we'll get to that later. But it's like every time a scene switch, you just have to assume, okay, maybe another year has passed. Is that
like
how
when
it
their
is going?
friends get married? Okay, we'll get to that. So 5 years passes. This woman who doesn't even know how to order a piece of pie is in the middle of the airport, like macking, sucking face with this boyfriend. And then I thought that was really weird. Like, the woman who we show 5 years ago, I don't think would have done that in the middle of the airport. But she was like going at it with this
She was at it in the middle of the crowd. But what's even more weird is Harry just walked up to them and just stared at them while they were making out in the middle of the airport. She was just staring at them.
And just looks, yes.
Just looks at them like 1 feet away. And then suddenly
he walks
it's like,
by, he recognizes Joe. I think he recognizes Meg Ryan as well. And then steps back. And yes, while they're making out, he just waits for them to finish.
And then he tries recognizing Joe. I guess they knew each other before. And
I think that Joe and Billy Crystal were either neighbors or schoolmates.
Yeah, or school. I don't know.
Because they're both lawyers. I do remember that.
Yeah. So I guess one is consultant, one is lawyer. So they're in a similar field. And I could see Sally. I think Sally first noticed him. It was like, oh,
Immediately.
Immediately. Mm-hmm. And then Harry later, you could tell that he also notices, but they didn't break it at the time. It's like Harry just left it as if he didn't know her.
I think he was trying to mess with her head.
I think
knew
so.
Who she was. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And then later, what happens? She was in the plane, just like fantasizing all the kisses she had with Joe.
Oh
and
my
then
God, no, I want to focus on that for a second because that rang so true to me. Joe and Meg Ryan kiss, and she gets on the plane. She says, Billy Crystal didn't recognize me, but I hate him. And he says he loves her for apparently the first time. And then that was actually maybe my favorite part of the movie, where they then shoot to her on the plane, and she's just sitting there like daydreaming. Mm-hmm. Because I had a very, very, very similar experience. Yes, in the last year, where I had actually had sex with someone for the first time, and then flew back to Denver, and I was sitting in the plane, like just 2 days later, probably, and just like completely spaced out. Yeah, exactly like they showed.
So it hit you really hard.
Yeah, no, I thought it was
me at the time.
A really beautiful scene.
Oh, because I was wondering, is that like? I felt like at the time, maybe that was the first time she fell in love, but at the same time, it might not actually. Like, maybe you can still feel that type of intensity of feeling.
Yeah, exactly.
Like later on.
I thought it was really sweet. But then Billy Crystal ruins it.
Yeah, he ruins it. It was just like pops his head up right behind her. Creep number, like second time being a creep. And just is like, what did he say? He said like, oh, University of Chicago. And then he was like, did we ever? And then he made a posture, like a gesture as if he was trying to remember whether he made love with her or something.
Oh, do we ever?
Yeah. And then Sally's like,
I think he knows he's fucking with her.
Yeah, I guess that's probably it was the case. But then, yeah. Basically,
and then he switches seats with the guy.
Switches seats. Yeah, the guy was like,
and actually sits right next to her.
So at first you felt like, because he was like, suddenly this is 5 years later. And
5 years.
Suddenly he's married.
He's changed. He's evolved. The two of them they don't show Billy Crystal being a dick at the beginning and the end of the movie. They don't show Meg Ryan ordering all weird from start to finish. They actually do show them evolving as people evolve in their 20s and 30s.
Yes.
I loved that. I did love that about the movie.
And I think that's why it worked pretty well to space it that far apart. Because if it were to just all happen within a year, it would have felt unrealistic in a way. It's like people usually take longer to change. Yes. So I think that probably might play a case of why they spread it so far apart. But I feel like at the time, like Harry, I guess he definitely changed because he wouldn't have been in marriage or anything.
No, married.
But at the same time, apparently he was really in love with this person. It was like
Helen, right?
Helen, yes, Helen.
We're going to talk about that.
We will, sure will. 30 seconds into the conversation, you feel like that Harry from like 18 years old is back. And then when he was talking about how he couldn't cuddle with someone after sex more than 30 seconds, then he has to leave. and he's like,
and the guy is just sitting there thinking, how long do I have to do
I have to leave. And anything between 30 seconds and a night is like, oh, this is this woman's problem, man. And Sally, you got a problem as well if you need more than 30 seconds of cuddling. And I was like, oh my God, I think you're still in this grape seed spitting period. That part
they
of them
wanted so hard though to like drive this home about him, that he's a douche and he wants to hook up and not respect a woman. But then at the same time, he's fallen in love with this great chick and is actually getting married. So I don't know. There wasn't a lot of continuity with Harry all the time.
I have no idea how he fell in love with this. I guess what he said, he got tired of the 30 seconds. He wanted to find someone to fall in love with.
He's like, I just want to be able to stay the night and roll over and not cuddle.
Yeah, he realized with Helen, he could cuddle for a few minutes longer. So it's like, oh, maybe this is the one.
With the Ice Queen? All right. Okay. So, okay. And just really quickly. So they talk on the plane. She gets off, gets her luggage. It annoys the hell out of me when I travel and I'm in an airport. You know, whatever.
The
walkie things?
Walking escalator or something.
Yeah, what do you call those?
Moving walkway, probably.
How do you feel about whether or not you should walk on them or not?
It depends, I guess. If
Really?
it's like crowded.
I cannot stand when someone sits there and like rides it. You're meant to be walking. And
Yeah,
she's
I mean,
sitting there just sitting on the with her luggage, not even moving. And he's like coming up behind her.
Just sitting there like reading a newspaper or something.
It's not a ride.
And this is New York City. Everyone's bustling out there. And you're just standing there still thinking about your love. And I get it.
No,
I mean, she's in love.
You are not. And when I am the person at the airport who's like looking over at the person who's standing there.
But what do you think later on when Harry was like, this is when I think you should stand instead of keep walking. When Harry was trying to talk about all this men's and women's can't be friend and now can be and can't be, and then Sally just responded with the simple goodbye, Harry. It's like, and then Harry's like, oh, all right, and then he kept walking next to her.
Yeah,
afterwards.
exactly. They're showing that he's got big balls.
I think that's the time where you probably want to stand. He sure does, yes.
But he does notice that she's just standing there, and I don't think he likes it. I don't think that he's as into her. No, I think he thinks it's annoying as well.
Interesting. Okay, very interesting.
Yeah, he does keep on. I wish that I was videoing this because I'm really with the motions right now. I'm like, this is walking. Billy Crystal.
Oh yes, with his friend. That was hilarious. Yes, I remember that part.
Okay, so they part ways again, and then another 5 years. So now we're 10 years into this thing, which I did appreciate. I like that.
And I think that's when you really see, especially Harry growing. Like you can tell
when they meet up in the bookshop.
Yeah,
he's so
changed,
articulate, and he's well dressed, and he's like looking her in the eye and being respectful, and you can absolutely tell like this is a man who's matured. They did that so brilliantly. I mean, oh my God, from the car. And then he barely even talks to her in the bookstore when they do, but immediately you see that he's matured. So maybe it was just the first thing he said.
The first thing he said was Sally O'Brien, like when she thought he forgot her, and then he right away remembers her first and last name. Whereas the first time she on the plane where he was like, did we ever, when did we meet? Did we ever do this thing? Like, did we ever have sex? And then didn't even remember with the women that he made out with. So that's a part of when I was like, oh, just from remembering her, that itself was the start of seeing how he has grown. What do you think?
Well, okay. I think that the way that he said it, yes. And he was very polite. I mean, knowing people into their 20s and now into their 40s, this is what happens to men. Like they soften, they mellow. Instead of doing a gag, he's, coming up to her and I'm saying, oh, nice to see you. Or this is your name. And not, oh, did we fuck when we were in college?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think he's always known. He's always remembered her. It's just kind of just fucking around. But still, just the way he speaks and all that, and his beard. I guess that helped. His appearance was everything.
Sweater we're gonna see in a couple scenes.
Yeah, but that's when.
Yeah, I thought immediately you could tell that 10 years had passed, and like I said, brilliant acting, perhaps. What I thought was kind of stupid was, so Sally and John had been. Was that her boyfriend's name?
Joe, I think.
Get this. This is going to blow your mind. So I was listening to a podcast a few days ago, prepping for this, trying to get information about when Harry met Sally. The guy who plays Joe is Gerald Ford's son. President Gerald Ford's son.
There's a lot. I feel like there are a lot of characters in this movie that are linked to someone.
The first son.
The first son of the president.
Yes, that's Gerald Ford's son.
Yeah. No wonder he looks like a politician. He looks like a young he could be a president someday. It's like the way he was dressed and the way
he was very good looking, very tall. I mean, is Gerald
just
Ford
the way
tall?
His posture and everything. I don't know, but I was like, he looks like a politician.
And which is interesting because he wasn't a politician. He was doing some other type of law. But Billy Crystal is a political
Consultant. Yeah, I think so.
Whatever. Okay. Oh my God.
Oh,
so
that's an
5 years
interesting
later. Yeah, the first son is.
Yeah, and somehow
having
he
sex with
got.
Meg Ryan.
What a match. For at least for a while.
That was out of everything that I read prepping for this, that was like the one thing that really stood out to me.
Yeah.
So 10 years. Okay. So Meg Ryan and Gerald Ford Jr.
That's everyone will that's just.
I want to like see where he is. Like,
yeah.
props. Maybe I'll send this episode to him. Be like, we're thinking of you.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah.
Okay, I will do it. Hey, Gerald Ford, son, you were really cute. And when Harry,
yeah, we talked a lot about you and want to know how things have been for you. So, you were great in the movie, and we can't wait to see you again. Yeah, are you divorced?
Married?
Carrie Fisher would love to know whether you're divorced or not.
Yes, inquiring minds with this little podcast want to know.
Yeah.
So, but she had stayed with him for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
That is a long relationship.
It is
5 fucking years.
I mean,
so
yeah.
Billy Crystal has been married to Hannah, right?
Helen.
Yeah. And Meg Ryan has been doing what she said. We're not going to get married. We're just going to live together for 5 years. They run into each other at the bookstore. Both of the relationships are falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
They share that with each other. And then they decide to go out for coffee. That didn't ring true to me, but.
Well, I guess because when you have that timing where both of them just went through like a heartbreak, I think at the time, Billy just went through a divorce, or he's going through a divorce. And we'll talk about this Giants field thing, the game thing. It was hilarious.
Want to talk about this breakup so bad.
In the sense, it's just because of timing. I think I see that happening where the two would just kind of want to share their own stories and find a coffee shop.
But they're not going to go to a coffee shop. I'd be like, let's get to the bar.
Yeah. Oh, I guess even in the 80s and 90s. Well, at the time, maybe Sally was like, I'm still not sure whether Harry has fully grown. Like, if we go to a bar, where's next?
He's grown. He has,
yeah. You could tell instantly. But
and then, this is one of my... Okay, first of all, she was telling the stupid story about her friend who has a kid who she takes on walks.
Yeah, like I Spy a Family.
Said, I Spy a Family.
I was actually kind of touched by that at the time. Well, I not necessarily just me linking to my own experience, but just the way a kid, like it's just such a big difference between adults saying it and a kid. Really, like having a kid inspire you in a way and realize, like instantly, I think Sally then realized that's what she wants. Like she wants to start a family.
Though she never brings it up again for the rest of the movie that she wants to be a mom. She wants to have a family.
But at the same time, I feel like probably because her and Joe have been together for years. Like if she wants to pursue, I feel like she's someone who she needs quite some time to develop her feelings. Whereas Harry's kind of, I don't even know. He's mysterious in a way.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you don't get a full read. They share all this at the coffee shop, and then they just become like best friends.
That was quick, yeah. Well, even they have met for 10 years. It's just in the 10 years they've only met each other. We've been friends for 10 years, even though we've only seen each other 3 times. Every 5 years we hang out once, and every time we meet, it's a significant boost in our friendship, I guess. It's weird.
Another piece of the puzzle falls.
Yep. At least we try to explain it so that it makes a bit more sense, but it probably would never make sense.
This is my thing, and I want to know what you think, and then we're going to talk about the football game. So they have coffee, and they're talking about their breakups. They go outside, and she says, would you like to have dinner with me sometime? Yeah,
she did. That's when I start feeling that she finds Harry interesting and wants to get like. I think it's both.
A friend thing.
I think it's both. I think she was just under a breakup. She needs someone to connect with in a way, and at the same time, she's been in New
York for 10 years. She doesn't have any friends.
She has, but the ones I've seen are all, Carrie Fisher and some other females. They were all female friends, though. like maybe Sally was convinced by Harry in some ways. Oh, maybe like I haven't seen any other male friends.
That she's trying to ask him out.
I think it's both, a little bit of both.
And that he didn't take it that way at all because he immediately goes, "Oh, we're gonna be friends," and she's like, "I guess."
That's true.
I think she's asking him on a date.
Interesting. I can sense she was a little nervous as we now talk about it. And she felt a little awkward asking that. And I feel like if it's just friends, it wouldn't, I don't think there was much to feel awkward about. Yeah. And I feel like Harry and her ex-boyfriend, Gerald Ford Jr., I guess.
Ford Jr.
I think the two have such a big contrast probably. Like Harry's definitely a very different personality that maybe in that sense, that she grew interest in his personality because it's so different, and in a way it's mysterious. Like, and then maybe she's like, maybe this dark side has a charismatic impact on me. Yeah,
someone who doesn't like hold his cards a little close to the chest. Yeah, he's very compelling yet very mysterious. She is getting wet by him because she's not used to that.
So interesting.
Oh my God. When she said, "Would you have dinner with me sometime?" I went, "Oh, they're going to just like jump into the relationship." And he doesn't.
And then he says, what did he say? I'm trying to remember. He says, you might be the first woman that I've never wanted to sleep with for my entire life. And then she paused for like a few seconds. She's like, "That's wonderful, Harry." In a very sarcastic way.
She thought that she held all the cards and that this guy was going to be like, "Give it to me."
The way he was processing the breakup was really different from Sally. Like he was just completely absorbed by that impact of Helen. And it sucked for him because like Helen at the time was his wife. And then he realized maybe after 5 years actually, because he was married 5 years ago. And then 5 years later, she suddenly she was moving out and telling him, "I'm not sure if I ever loved you." And that was probably the first woman he has ever fallen in love with. And it was Meg Ryan. Her way of processing the breakup was the complete opposite, where I think Harry was really processing all the emotions and all that. So during that time, he had no capacity to like anyone else like Sally. But Sally at the time, she processed in a very logical sense.
That is how I am.
She knew the reasons why she broke up with Gerald Ford Jr. And it's so weird to say that because I just think of Sally and Gerald Ford instead. I
know when I heard that I couldn't not get it out of my head.
I just that the combination of Sally and Gerald Ford's face just doesn't make sense to me. So I'm just gonna say Joe again because it's easier.
Okay, fine. Joe Ford. Joe Ford. Yeah. I guess that would be his name.
Ford.
Joe.
Sure.
So we don't know his real name. Okay.
Well, the way she was processing her breakup is like she was going through all the thoughts and the logic. It's like, oh, this is why me and him don't work. I want family. He doesn't. And she was like, I'm over it. And that was like a few days after she broke up, after a 5-year relationship. Yep. So then in a way, she's just keeping her feelings aside.
She said it was her mourning period when they were talking. It was, but he's like, "Oh, you're doing all right. But you don't want to date." And she says, "No, I don't want to date. This is my mourning period, but I know that this is all for the best." But he's not having the same experience. I mean, I suppose if it's a marriage, but let's just talk about this. Joe doesn't want a family. She says she does, but never come back to that for a second.
All I remember from all that in the restaurant was this ice cold Mexican tile. That's the only thing.
What?
Something about that. It was like when you're in a family, you would like have sex on on the kitchen floor and stuff. But I just remember the Mexican tile. That's all. It was like, it's too cold to have sex on.
Hold on, Brian. Okay. So, that was actually quite depressing, I thought. Because she said the reason why she and Gerald Ford didn't have kids is they wanted to have the freedom to have sex on the kitchen floor and to take off on a weekend to go overseas for a couple nights. And then she realized not only does the little girl point out a family, so she doesn't know what a family is, but then she also realized that she and Gerald Ford had not ever had sex on the kitchen floor and had never gone off overseas on a weekend
Yeah.
spontaneous.
And this is 5 years. That kind of is depressing. If it's too cold, change a different tile. I'm sure you guys, I mean, he's Hero Ford's son. He's got some money. Just change the tiles and you at least you have that.
Put in some carpeting. I prefer a soft place to have
carpet. Nice. There's more texture and all that anyways.
I did feel moved by that. I got married really young. I always wanted to travel. And I mean, if you knew me when I was 5, you were going to know that I was going to be a world traveler.
And you did go to quite a few places.
Me?
Like all over. Yeah, Asia.
Yeah. But my husband didn't have any interest in travel. I kept on thinking, I'm going to get him on board where he's going to want to be doing exciting things. And it was just like, the older we got, the more money we got. He didn't show any interest at all, ever. Like, we never went on trips. And I do remember thinking like, oh, I thought, like this is going to be, an adventure. And then it wasn't. And so when she said, like we never went on spontaneous weekends.
So it hit you at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it did for sure. Brian, tell me about Harry and Helen.
Helen, yes.
Isn't that the worst couples? It sounds like cartoon characters or something. Tell me about Harry talking to his mate Jess as a boy's name,
which is starred by Bruno Kirby.
Okay, all right.
I actually haven't seen any of. I don't really know him, but he's supposed to be a big actor. I guess many people know him at the time. I don't know. I just haven't seen. I don't know, but I feel like
I looked up the cast.
He's a well-known character. I just haven't seen any of his movies.
He was. Hold on. The 4 of them were all very
all 4. Carrie Fisher, which was Princess Leia from Star Wars.
Okay, so Jess. When Harry Met Sally.
Was that the first one that came out? I don't think I recognized any of his movies, but he had quite a bit, like a lot of them.
Okay. City Slickers. When Harry Met Sally. Good Morning Vietnam. The Freshman. Donnie Brasco. The Basketball Diaries. Godfather 2.
Oh, okay.
I mean, fuck. Okay, Modern Romance. He was in. Somewhat prolific, but like
I guess.
quite a while ago as well.
Yeah. And
okay, so Jess. Jess and Billy Crystal are at a football game. Can you tell us what happens? This was a good scene.
So Giants, that was like a football game that they went to. And the first thing is basically everyone's doing this wave thing. It's like a common thing in America.
Do people still do the wave?
Yeah. That's a good question.
This is in my actual notes. If people do the wave. I'm a sports person.
Yeah, not in basketball, but in baseball. Like the first time I've ever watched baseball, which I've only watched twice, but that was a game, a Rockies game, like over a decade ago. Yes, everyone was doing the wave.
A decade ago, though, and really cutely doing it in this scene.
Yes.
As they're talking, they keep on doing the wave.
And every time, as they're chatting, every time they do a wave, it's always after like a really painful statement from whether Helen or something that's supposed to be where you're supposed to burst out crying, and every time he says something,
she said, "I don't know if I ever loved you."
Yes, and both of them, and Jess was like, "Oh, that was rough," and then both of them stood up and did the wave.
But with like completely serious.
Yeah, it's like I don't know like if I've ever loved you. Whoa, and then it was hilarious. And there was some other, there were so many heartbreaking moments that he said, but I just end up laughing because every time he said something about that, they just did the wave. Let me see here. There's one thing though that they mentioned. So basically he was trying to explain to his friend Jess of what happened to him and Helen. And Helen was basically telling Harry that she wants a trial separation, which it's very interesting. Basically what she's asking for is, they were already husband and wife, and she's like, I want to try dating again and just see how that goes and have a trial separation. Like, especially for Harry, that I don't think that would go well, because for him, dating means holding someone for 30 seconds doing the white man's overbite.
Oh my
It's like, imagine him
forgot about the
having-
white man to overbite.
So imagine him.
He's going to be thinking about Helen while
While
white
doing the
man's
white man's
overbite with
Oh
someone
my God.
new.
Like, I can't
Oh my
even
God,
picture
please
that.
talk
That's
about
just
the
so
white man.
awkward. Hey,
The white man's over.
I've never tried it, but it's worth trying once in a lifetime. But then Jess mentioned something.
Did the wave, but
Yeah.
you could tell.
Yeah, like he did the wave. I could tell he was heartbroken while
His
doing
heart
the wave.
wasn't in it.
Oh, his heart was pounding in a really, the opposite way. So, but then Jess then mentioned, he says, oh, marriages don't break up on account of infidelity. Which I think in a way it kind of, what do you think? What's your thought on that?
Okay, I knew that you were going to ask me about this. I don't think that anyone cheats in a vacuum. I will agree with that.
I agree.
The person is shit. The relationship is shit. It's not working. Yeah, many other reasons other than just getting caught up in the moment.
I do think that's probably the way. And because, like, I remember a friend of mine who was in that situation for many years with someone, and then suddenly something infidelity happens. And I was like, there's no way it was that sudden. Something happened.
No.
And I think that there's a lot of complexity, even if it's not seen early on. But that is some, but I do think Jess is right. Like infidelity, whether it's maybe the other person feels like I've heard a lot, people would say that sometimes they feel unappreciated. That could be a reason.
Which I actually could
in the long run.
I could see.
Yeah. So someone then would seek infidelity because they felt unappreciated, or sometimes they've tried communicating and things just don't work. But then at the same time, maybe this person still loves that person, so chooses not to break up and find someone else,
Wants
or
passion,
wants passion, but still cares about the other person, or simply they just don't have the courage to break up. I don't know. It could be a lot
so
complex.
many things.
The movers knew that Helen was moving out before Harry even did, and he got pissed about that, and which I could understand. But at the same time, Helen was like, I didn't want to tell you because I knew it was your birthday. It was your birthday week. So I don't know what to feel about that. Is like,
I don't know what difference does it make if it was his birthday or not?
I think it's going to suck either way. You might as well just tell him earlier.
I mean, now he's going to hate his birthday even more. He's going to be like leading up to his birthday, like
every time on his birthday,
what is somebody keeping from me?
Every time on his birthday, he'll just moan like he did with Sally over the phone. That's his birthday. It's like every day at night he'll say, "Oh, it's my birthday again." Yeah,
Gonna happen, Helen. So
I don't think it helped. No. It was a shit show with the whole conversation him and Jess mentioned. It was just such a heartbreaking
breakup
moment.
Coach, I was pissed.
Then it was
I
like a few
don't
years.
understand why Helen had to like throw it in his face. If she was gonna bounce, like just why not take off when he's? I don't know. It was heartbreaking.
Why not take off earlier, maybe?
Yeah.
Or
leave when he's not there. Why is she just like taking his face and just like putting it into the shit? I mean, could you possibly have broken up with somebody to hurt them more than that?
Like in this case, would it be to tell them, kind of like moving things out and having that whole process?
So everybody always asks me, how do I break up? And I say confidence, knowing that you are sure about it, clarity, knowing why you want to do it, and conciseness. So you're sure that you want to do it. You know why. You tell the person short and sweet, and get out. It felt like she was trying to torture him for some reason. So Billy Crystal gets divorced. He and Meg Ryan don't have any other friends, apparently. And so they're spending all of their free time together, talking on the phone nonstop. And then their friends bang.
Yeah, all the friends, like the Jess and Marie.
Jess and Carrie Fisher bang.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about them. I love to talk about the double date thing, which went horribly wrong. But basically,
carte blanche.
Yeah, basically what happened was, I think Sally was trying to hook Marie, or in this case, Carrie Fisher, up with Jess.
So
with
Carrie Fisher was meant to be going out with Harry.
Yeah, with Harry. And then
Meg Ryan was going to go out with Jess.
With Jess, yes. It was interesting. It was like, because two of them, Harry and Sally at the time, like, I don't know if they caught feelings for each other. I think they must have, but they just...
Well, shit, Meg Ryan wanted Billy Crystal, but... And I love how they're like, oh, what are like the two people we know? Let's...
and these are the two people.
Set each other up. Wouldn't it make no sense at all? But yes.
Yeah, and then basically things went the completely different direction in a positive way, I guess. With Jess and Carrie Fisher, things were just clicking instantly. And first, Jess and Sally basically... Yeah, it was hard to watch. It was hard to watch. And I remember when Harry and Carrie Fisher was trying to talk, Sally was like, oh, Marie, you and Harry are both from New Jersey. And Harry was like, oh, where's you from? Central. It was so cringe. Basically, they each spoke their own city, and then that was it. There was no other word beyond that.
But Meg Ryan and Billy Crystal kept looking at each other, but also Carrie Fisher and Jess, like everybody could see.
But then, of course, something sparked. I think Marie accidentally quoted what Jess wrote, because Jess was a writer. And then, which is interesting, Sally's a writer too, but both of them just couldn't coexist.
Is she? Okay, hold on. They never make reference.
Nothing. Yeah, I don't.
Her job.
All I knew was she went to New York because she wants to be a journalist.
They don't ever talk about her job ever. Career is everything.
Yeah. So I guess because it's in New York and them not speaking anything about the job that much, which makes it really interesting. I don't know whether it's pull or push for people watching it, but it's interesting. Yeah, New York is like job is everything.
It's everything. Yes, you would definitely know what she does.
Yeah,
and they would have brought it in because they're showing Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan hanging out like 24/7, and but I mean we know he's a. Anyways, yeah, they never come back to actually the substance of this woman. But and that was also a little offensive to me. She's just like this blonde bitch.
Yeah, because but at the same time, I think they balanced it with Harry. Like we knew he was a consultant, but they never really elaborated after that.
Yeah.
So like both of them, they didn't really talk anything about their jobs. So I think in that sense, it kind of helped balance. It's like, okay, they didn't talk anything about Sally, so didn't they with Harry. So I feel a little better after that.
Yeah, you're right.
It makes it kind of intriguing. It's like, it's not as predictable. Just because it's in New York doesn't mean kind of.
But also like this is like their entire lives as well, which I did kind of find annoying that you wouldn't think that either of them did anything but wake up, hang out, hook up their friends with each other, get on the phone, talk about Casablanca, go to the salad bar.
Yeah, that's an alternative way of living in New York that I'm not sure if it's sustainable nowadays, but it works in the movies, I guess.
I wish. So Carrie Fisher fucks Jess.
and I love how they just like both Sally and Harry was like, you can tell that they were caring for each other by telling Jess and Marie and Carrie Fisher separately. It's like, I know you guys are attracted to each other, but just don't call for a few days.
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh, I wasn't even thinking about that. We won't do that. And then 1 second later, the taxi came. And it's like, oh, I don't feel like walking anymore. Taxi. And then Carrie Fisher was like, oh, I'll go with you.
That was really like, I thought that was cute.
I thought it was cute too. And I personally, I feel like that was a big reason why Harry said his famous statement in the end of the movie, which I love, which is a very sweet one, which is, like, when you know that you want to spend time with the person you love, you want it to start as soon as possible. When you want to spend the rest of your life with someone you love, you want it to start as soon as possible. And Harry and Carrie Fisher did it just that. They just went straight into the attack. Okay, I guess their friends influenced him in a way. It's like, yeah, if you like someone, just do it right away.
I mean, rom-coms, as I always think that people should take things slow in relationships.
Yeah.
And rom-coms are not the best example of that. But I did like that. And actually, Carrie Fisher and I'm sorry to keep laughing every time. Jess and Carrie Fisher, their relationship, I felt, was portrayed in a very healthy way.
I think so too. I mean, I feel like a healthy relationship supposed to have some healthy arguments.
They were friends.
They were friends, and they had things to. Yeah, they fought as well, but in a healthy way. It's not it's something you can just most couples would fight, like the wagon wheel table, which I found the wagon wheel table really attractive. I would put it in my living room anytime, but that thing was been just.
I am a cowgirl.
Okay.
I'm taking that shit. I'm like, give me the wagon wheel. I am cool with this.
Yeah, I was like, what is so bad about the wagon wheel table?
I'm like, my man has a wagon wheel and a table.
Oh man, that's a huge bonus right there.
I'm like, come here, give it to me, babe. I love though. So I have 3 favorite scenes. I already told you the first one with Meg Ryan, creaming her pants about her boyfriend in the plane. And then Billy Crystal sees Helen. And then we have the wagon wheel. And then Billy Crystal has a nervous breakdown.
Yep. And this was after he's bumped into Helen at the shop. Okay. Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about this first. Why is Helen such a bitch?
By going up to him?
She was so horrible. She was so mean. She had this look on her face like, I've been waiting for this. And like grimacing and being so patronizing and embarrassing. And did you not think that at all?
I just felt it was awkward the whole time. I didn't think that way at all, but at the time it was like
so mean.
I mean, yeah, I guess he was like calling with Ira coming up, which is her newfound love.
Her face. I mean, she
okay, yeah, please send me.
For blood.
I just remember it was really, really awkward, and Billy felt humiliated in a way, and Sally was like,
well, this is what made me think that there was more to the separation from Helen and Billy Crystal because she could not have been happier to run into them. And she was like, I'm going to stick it to you like I've never stuck it to anybody. Her face, her mannerisms.
Yeah, I remember that view at the time. I think she was like waiting for Harry to introduce Sally at the same time, but the way she hinted.
And she's looking him straight in the eye and kind of smiling.
Yeah. Kind of. It's not a really comfortable thing. Like if I were to imagine myself in that situation, like with my, I guess, ex-wife or something, and I don't know, man. Yeah, it was hard to take, and I could see why Harry would blow up at Jess and Carrie Fisher's place
because completely. She's going for blood for sure. I have run into an ex recently, and it was awesome. I won breakup, but we'll talk about that another time. But really, no, I did.
Sounds good.
No, it was good. It was very satisfying. Then they go to the wagon wheel, which I'm sorry. Brian and I live in Colorado. Maybe it's because we're from the Southwest. Maybe it's because I'm a cowgirl who has fantasies about Tombstone. I was down with that. She doesn't like it. Billy Crystal has a nervous breakdown. Which also I get. I mean, I thought his acting was wonderful, actually. And then he's saying, make sure that you put your names on everything because you're going to get divorced anyways. And it's going to make it easier to split up your things. And he's like, especially with some like an ugly Roy Rogers table. I don't know. Maybe I've never eaten at Roy Rogers. And Jess goes, I'm sorry, I love this so much. Jess goes, I thought you liked it.
I was being nice.
That I was laughing so hard.
And I love Carrie Fisher's words after that. That's even better. He
looks him right in the eye and goes, I was being nice.
Yeah.
And yes, and what does Carrie Fisher
Carrie Fisher, like she cuddles Jess with some lovingly eyes looking at him. It's like, I want you to know that I will never want that wagon wheel table. And then
very good writing.
It was really good. Yes.
For sure. I have to ask though, why does Carrie Fisher always have such odd haircuts?
That's very true.
It's a weird haircut, even for the 80s.
First, like, I couldn't tell she was actually
it's strange hair.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't actually seen that many of her movies other than knowing she's from Star Wars, but I couldn't tell. I didn't know she was Princess Leia until later on. I was like, oh, Carrie Fisher. Okay. I could not tell from her hairstyle.
Somewhat a child of the 80s. I want to refill my drink, and then I want to talk about
let's do that.
Fake orgasms.
Okay, I'm down. Yeah, let's get to that.
Right, see you in 2 minutes?
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Are you having fun?
I hope that you enjoyed the first part of the When Harry Met Sally roast. I know that I did. make sure to tune in to part 2, where you will hear me twice as inebriated. Hope you enjoy. Happy holidays.